Almost. Touchdown lead, 2 minutes to play. Couldn't close it, though. The Matt Rule era begins, much like a Scott Frost finish, but a lot of good things to focus on there as well. So let's understand first time in the program, first game, tough opponent on the road, so we can balance out the good and the negative, and we'll talk it all up right here at Huskers Live for the next 60. Comments and questions are welcome, of course. And we look ahead to, wow, this is going to be interesting. Colorado in Boulder. Huskers Live. Greg Peterson's here, of course, from Husker Online. He makes it all go for a 136th edition. Greg, how you doing tonight?
Trying to wind down. It's been a long day, but yeah, good evening, everybody, and let's get going.
Let's get it going, indeed. The pluses and minuses seem to be pretty obvious on Thursday night. Let's I'm going to start with a positive. And we talked about this last week. PJ Fleck has been running a program there for 7 years. That's 7 years of stability. That's 7 years of everyone being on the same page, terminology, relationships, everything, versus Matt Rule, all the transfer players, which I saw a list today that Nebraska was somewhere in the range of not just transfer players, but incoming freshmen, was one of the top 5 or 6 in the nation in regards to number of new players. So that's a huge disadvantage. And you go on the road and you're taking on a team that's gone 11-2, 9-4, 9-4 the last 3 full seasons, and you're winning until the last couple minutes and you go to the last play of the game. So if you take that into context, that's a pretty good effort overall.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska fans will say, "Here we go again."
Yeah, I get it.
Seen this, but yeah, there definitely are positives to take away, and you're sitting there thinking, with 5 minutes left in the game, there's no way that Nebraska can lose this game. Then all of a sudden, Anthony Grant coughs the ball up, and everything changes. But yeah, I mean, the effort was there. I think you saw the physicality was much better, and you saw, I mean, Nebraska was wearing them down. I mean, another time you see Nebraska on the field with a better team, but they end up losing. They find a way to lose, and 3 interceptions and 1 fumble. 4 turnovers just kills you right there. Not getting anything out of, you get 3 drives, you get the ball 3 times in the first half, and you get down to the 1 yard line and you come away with nothing. That's a killer. Even if you just get a field goal there, that's a different game. So yeah, you try to hang your hat on the same old thing that you've been seeing here. I mean, unfortunately. And now you come in against a juggernaut all of a sudden that has the whole country talking about them. And you know what? Nebraska's got a heck of a chance to make some noise here. That's for sure. They have a great opportunity in front of them. And just hope that they don't buy into all the hype that's going on across the nation about, Coach Sanders and what he did and his team did last week at TCU.
You bring up a good point, Greg, that I didn't quite get to. But of course, 4-1, the turnover ratio. And if you're down 4-1 in the turnover ratio and you're on the road and you're playing a team that's been winning 9 games, your chances of winning are close to 0.
Yeah, you give it away.
But they still came within 1 play of winning the ball game.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue, too, if you're watching that, but they're down there, and it pretty much looked like Anthony Grant had broken the plane of the goal line there.
Yeah.
In the first half. And then, they call it short, and then you get a false start call on your tight end. And all of a sudden now you're down in a hole, and Jeff Sims throws a horrible interception there, and you get out of there with nothing. But that would have been a huge swing. Either way, a touchdown or a field goal right there, and you're in a different spot in the second half. I mean, even though they were very confident, coming out in that second half. But yeah, if you go in there and score at the end of the first half, and you know you're getting the ball to start the third quarter, ton of momentum there. And I mean, yeah, you know those interceptions were very costly. So it just kind of ruined a pretty decent performance. I mean, the defense came to play in my mind, and you know, obviously they're going to be under fire here come Saturday against all those skill guys that Colorado has. So going to be interesting to see, you know, how they play these two different games. You know, two totally opposite, you know, modes of offensive defense that you can imagine.
That is going to be something else because it's one thing to gear up for this Minnesota team and be preparing for them for as long as Nebraska's defense has, and you're going to play in a phone booth and they want to slam it straight ahead at you, a lot of play action pro sets, and then all of a sudden your defense, after playing so well, has to just get completely geared up for a completely different style of football.
And plus, you're missing Ty Robinson for the first half.
Yeah.
After getting ejected there against Minnesota. So that hurts a lot too. Because you know that Colorado, their offensive line hasn't gone up against somebody like Ty Robinson.
Yep.
And you know, that's a big loss for the first half there to try to snatch momentum in that game. But no, it's gonna be really interesting to see how, you know, they adjust to the tempo that they're going to go against, and just the speed and the skill positions that possess all that. You know, and you know, a bunch of kids that have been playing together for so long. You know, going back to their youth. You know, that's the kind of stuff that Deion Sanders brought over there, which I mean, you got the number one player, the number one recruit in the country playing wide receiver / cornerback for you. You know, and his own son at quarterback that was a 4-star. And then you had the number one player in Kansas, another 4-star. You know, it's no mistake that they just did this to TCU. So they've got a lot of fire out there, a lot of talent on the outside, and a quarterback that really is very poised and you know, looks like he's been playing the game for 30 years.
It was a fun game to watch.
It was
a fun game to watch. I didn't know what to expect, and if anything, Greg, I was blown away by the sheer talent of Travis Hunter.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah.
No wonder he was the number one rated player, because I'd never seen him play a full game. I only saw a little highlight here and a little highlight there, but to watch him play a full game is just wow, what an athlete.
Yeah, you kept wondering when he's going to give out, you know.
Yes.
He never did.
141 snaps he played.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And then there's Shadur Sanders. And again, I didn't know what to expect. I don't think his dad would have just started him just to start him, that he proved to be that good. So, but the speed and space and all that business, that didn't surprise me. What surprised me is that they played as well as they did, being a team that led the nation in transfer portal additions and incoming freshmen, that they just threw this team together in the last couple months. And they looked like, now this defense, you know, let's not, you know, let's cut it straight. This defense is not that good. You know, they're just not going to be. They just don't have the depth of the high end players to be a really good defense. So they're going to have to outscore everyone.
Yeah, they're good in the shootout. We can put it that way.
But they didn't get killed at the point of attack, and they tackled, and like they were a lot tighter than I expected. Executed a lot better. Not a ton of penalties. Not a bunch of blown coverages for a team that was just thrown together.
I think they only had 3 penalties called on them the whole game. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
But I don't know. I mean, I expected a little bit more physical play out of TCU,
Yeah.
and you just didn't really get it. And it just turned into one of those good old Big 12 shootout games with no defense. And so that, if you want to take positives out, Nebraska is going to be a different defense that they played against. And almost, with the 3-3-5, it almost suits playing against that style of offense anyway, right there. So, we heard from some of the players today, and they all know about Deion Sanders and who he is, and the goat at the defensive back position, and they're up for the challenge. They can't wait. So there's another benefit that they got to sit there and watch this game on Saturday. The whole team watched this game and scouted Colorado, and so that, they already know what's in store for them, and they're just trying to concentrate on doing what they can control and go from there. So,
Greg, like you said, Greg, they don't want to get into a shootout. They don't want that kind of game. But on the other hand, even though they've got to be thinking we're the more physical team, we've got better depth, we've got Big Ten offensive and defensive linemen, let's play to our strength. They also can't be too conservative. They need to take their shots, and they need to throw the ball some.
Well, obviously, and that's where you'll run into the difficulties of how Jeff Sims looked throwing the ball last week, and you think, oh boy. I mean, I know personally, I took a lot of messages about the problems with quarterback, and then it got to the point where it was a little bit annoying, but you just cannot. I don't care who you are, you just can't turn the ball over, and it's going to kill the team. And I mean, I thought that Jeff Sims looked really good running the ball, really good, and at times, the passing was all right, but just too many mistakes there in critical spots. And I mean, in the second half there, Minnesota, they realized they couldn't run the ball, so they threw the ball a ton, like 38 some attempts, I think it was, in the second half that they attempted throwing the ball, and which basically gave Nebraska time to kind of even up the time of possession overall after that first half, when Minnesota had the ball the whole first half, basically. So I mean, it was a physical game, and they were actually able to, if you take away the sacks, they ran the ball for 200 yards against Minnesota, which they haven't done in a long time, and then they held Minnesota. So you're doing what you wanted to do coming into the Big Ten, and now you just play a different animal. So, it really is going to be a good test for the guys on how they can adjust on the fly like this. And then, nice thing is they had a couple extra days, though, playing on Thursday, to rest and recuperate a little bit and enjoy themselves. And it's all business right now. Getting ready for Colorado. They know what they're up against.
Now, what's also going to be tough on this team is they just got back from Minnesota, and I'm not going to sell Minnesota as Death Valley, but the place was packed, and it was a road game in the Big Ten. Now,
good crowd.
Yeah. Colorado went to TCU. Again, they're coming off a national championship game appearance, and they get this huge road win. And even if there was some psychological impact to have a letdown after gearing up all off season to play this team, go on the road, you accomplish it, then you get this turnaround. A few things are going to erase that, any kind of letdown. Number one, they're playing Nebraska. So they're playing a national brand. Number two, they're playing an old rival. So even if they don't care, the players themselves, they're going to have it beaten into their head by somebody around campus, I would think.
the fan bases hate each other.
Yes, that this is a big deal. Yeah. And then number 3, Greg, is I was talking to somebody the other day that thought, okay, well, Colorado's coming off this emotional high and all this, and there's going to be a letdown. I'm like, I get that you would say that maybe normally, but this is only game number 2. And then they're playing Nebraska and they're playing at home. And if anybody watched that spring game where the place was going crazy, it didn't look like a spring game. It was packed. And now they beat TCU. That place, if anything's going to lift those guys' spirits and get them back up, that crowd is going to be going nuts.
You know, the good thing about it, though, if you think about it, it's, you know, the big noon game.
Yeah.
Which
sure.
noon is 10 a.m.
Yes.
Mountain time.
Ooh.
So, you know what? That crowd's not going to have all day to get all
Yeah.
lapped up. You know, just think if that was a 7 o'clock, you know, a night game or a 2:30 game.
Uh-huh.
So it's going to be a little tougher for Buffs fans to get themselves lubed up for the game. So that might help a little bit, but you know, there's going to be some kind of big ceremony or what have you. And they're going to do everything possible to make it just a huge production. But yeah, you know, Nebraska, the you know, the standing orders are just treat it like a normal game and don't pay attention to all this hype. And even though how hard that is, like guys aren't even looking at their phones. You know, because you can't turn on any kind of sport news or sport radio without them talking about Colorado and Coach Prime. It's incredible. Just off of one game.
You bring up a great point here, Greg, that the game's at 10 a.m. because I should have obviously figured that out, but that didn't cross my mind because, as you know, because we've talked about it many times here, when Nebraska is forced to play the big noon game, it's 11 a.m. locally. It's not great for Nebraska. Oklahoma has to do it a number of times. Texas has to do it a number of times. So it's Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas seem to get hit with this more than anyone because they're schools that Fox wants to put on at noon and they're in that central time zone. Yeah. But unless somebody can correct me, I can't think of a time that they've pushed it to the mountain time zone. First of all, because there's hardly any teams in the mountain time zone that have any kind of national reputation. It's basically Utah, Colorado, and that's about it.
Yeah. But wait until USC and UCLA here. Then you're talking 9 a.m. for the.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do that to them. They might.
Hey, they're used to it out in Southern California.
Well, they're not used to playing games at.
No, but I'm just saying their TV market is used to getting up at 9 a.m.
to watch football.
Yeah.
They did do that to USC and Arizona the first week of the COVID year because the Pac-12 was the last conference to play football, and they just wanted to kind of I think the Pac-12 actually pushed for it. They wanted to be in the limelight. But other than that, 10 a.m., that doesn't happen hardly ever.
No, it's pretty rough. It makes you change your routine for sure. Got to get up a couple hours earlier. Yeah. I know Nebraska's going to be out there early on Friday, and they're going to actually practice there at Folsom Field on Friday. You know, a full, not a full contact practice, but a full practice, not a walkthrough. You know, they hit it hard on Tuesday and Wednesday. So.
And you've told me before how long this trip is for Nebraskans to go. Obviously, depends on where you are in the state.
I mean, it's right around 7 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, from Lincoln.
6.5, 7 hours. Yeah.
But if you're in the western part of the state, you're a Nebraska fan.
Yeah. No, Scotts Bluff, it's only a couple hours. I mean, you're closer to. There's a lot of places out in the western part of the state where you're much closer to Denver than you are to Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always find those things interesting. Geography. Just good stuff.
When I've gone to go cover games at Scotts Bluff, say like for a Garrett Nelson guy or somebody like that, I actually fly to Denver and drive to Scotts Bluff instead of driving from.
That's funny.
Bluff. Yeah.
I've never thought of that.
Less
That's
time in
crazy.
the car. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's great stuff. I'm gonna love this game. It's
I'll be
it's
in
gonna be
Burwell this Friday. So
just gonna be fun. Gonna be fun. Yeah, well, while you mentioned it, yeah, what does the high school football look like in terms of what you took in last Friday night and then what's coming up this weekend?
oh yeah, last Friday was rough. I went to see Omaha North hosting Millard West, which Omaha North was coming off of a big upset at Bellevue West the previous week. With Omaha North has two Husker commits, a 2024 and then a 2025. So yeah, I was there to see them play for the second week in a row, and they ended up laying an egg. And Millard West ended up beating them with their last second field goal on their own home field. So it was kind of a letdown. But this weekend I'm going to drive to Burwell, Nebraska, which is north of Grand Island. It's 3 hours away from Lincoln. But I'm going to go see Carter Nelson, the big fish there in the recruiting class. His Ainsworth squad will be playing in Burwell, which is the closest to Lincoln they're playing their whole season. So I'm going to be missing the big Omaha West Side Bellevue West game in Omaha, but you know what? I want to go see Carter Nelson. I'm intrigued. He's already having a huge year. Nobody can stop him in that small classification of schools that he plays in. He's a beast. So
Bone led corn fed is letting us know right here, Greg, that he's going to shave his head if the Huskers win, but you've got to shave your head too.
I can't do that. It would never grow back at my advanced age. If I shaved it, I'd never get it back. It's the only bragging rights I have left anymore is that I have a full head of hair. So
Yeah, somebody threw something like that at me the other day about having some kind of bet and shaving my head, and I'm like, no. Whether it looks impressive or looks horrible or whatever it is, I like having my hair, so just I'm not touching it.
no, 40 years ago, yeah, no problem. You're on. I'm just trying to keep the gray coming out from my beard.
Yeah, it's there for me.
Yep.
It is mostly just that. Well, Smiles Per Gallon has left a ton of comments about this black shirt defense and how Colorado's not going to be able to score on it.
Boy,
Well,
that'd
it's
be
going to be
nice.
quite the matchup.
Yeah, that'd be nice for sure.
Anthony Grant had a nice game other than the fumble.
Oh, what a horrible time to cough it up. Yeah, that was unfortunate. But Nebraska ran the ball pretty well
Yep.
the entire game. So the offensive line did their jobs and didn't make a lot of mistakes. So that's encouraging right there. And you can see, I mean, if they would have kept running the ball too, they had, Nebraska got the ball back and had that one drive there where they threw it 3 straight times. I think that was idiotic. That you could have just kept running the ball, even though Minnesota was doing everything to stop Jeff Sims running the ball, and then they dropped 8 in the box or eight deep, and there was no throwing lanes for Sims at that point. But that was a pretty good game all the way around, and the problem is that you kind of think that most people kind of picked Nebraska to lose that game, and start 1-1, figuring that they'd lose at Minnesota and win at Colorado. Now, after what happened last weekend, you're kind of thinking, uh-oh, 0-2 staring you in the face now, which is what we talked about several times that they can't afford to do.
Yeah, I know Vegas has it as a competitive game. They've had Nebraska the favorite during the offseason, but now after what happened this weekend, they've moved Colorado into about a 3.5 to 4 point favorite. They're at home. So that pretty much means that they think these teams are pretty much a toss up, evenly matched. But yeah, when you've got an offense generating the kind of points and yardage for Colorado, they just look more impressive. People get more impressed by watching offense than they do defense. And I think a lot of people just think Colorado is going to run away with this. But Nebraska's so much stronger and better and deeper in so many ways that it's just a great, like they say about boxing matches. Matches make the fight. Um, and that's what this is.
Yeah, I mean, we all know, and we've seen it enough that if Nebraska can eliminate the mistakes, they're they're usually the better team, and they just find ways to lose by making mistakes like that. So, I mean, yeah, like you said, they are pretty evenly matched. Obviously, Colorado's probably got more speed, but Nebraska's no slouch in that department either. So it's going to be. I think it is going to be a pretty good battle. I don't see. I heard some people picking their picks on some of the local radio shows that were pretty outrageous. That you can probably imagine, just going off of last week's output that Colorado had. And obviously the offense that Nebraska put up too wasn't all that impressive. And then you're dealing with some injuries. Isaiah Garcia Castaneda is out for the year. He got hit on the side of his knee and blew his ACL. So there's more depth problems there at the wide receiver spot for Nebraska after that one game. And there's a lot of guys are going to have to step up at that position. And you saw Heinrich Harburg out there playing wide receiver a couple of plays too, which another thing that they're going to utilize more of now. So very interesting things that are going on there on both sides of the ball.
No doubt, everyone. Leave your comments and questions there in the chat. We'll get to them. So we talk up the Huskers taking on the Buffs. Should be a fun one at 11 a.m. Central Time. I lost track of where I was and wanted to bring something up that I came across. Well, speaking of overreaction, that's one stat I've seen all over the place concerning NFL betting is that there are more missed bets in week 2 by people overreacting to what they saw in week 1 and thinking that's the way it's going to be throughout the rest of the season. Like this is the team and this is what they showed us, good or bad, that's who they are, and going way overboard in that direction and assuming that's the way it's going to be. And week 2's a whole different deal.
Yeah, no, that's historically known right there. The biggest overreaction week of the season is between week 1 and week 2. No matter if you're betting or not.
Fangway would like to know what's up with the Baylor transfer, Josh Fleeks.
They mentioned him today actually as a guy that is one of the guys there that's going to have to step it up. I think who was it? Alex Bullard actually mentioned him. So,
because Garcia Castaneda went down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was a starter, but you got to get the ball more to Billy Kemp too. Thomas Fedoni, those two guys didn't have a catch. You got to get more guys involved. Obviously, if you're Nebraska. So you got to use those playmakers that you have out there that are available. Tommy Hill is another guy that's going to that you did see out there, and they ran a pattern for him that he killed it on, and just didn't hit him. But you're going to see a lot more of him now at wide receiver as well.
And the walk-on, Alex Bullock, had 3 catches for 56 yards to lead the team.
Yeah, well, we talked about him being a bigger part of the offense anyway, throughout fall camp. So that was definitely no surprise that Alex came through and shined.
Anything else that Rule and the players hit on that jumps out to you?
Just kind of like I was talking about earlier with, the way they just are trying to tune out everything and just, play another game against another opponent. And just go about it, in their business like way. I thought Coach Rule was a little subdued yesterday in his press conference. You kind of tell that, he had a pretty big weight on his shoulders after that loss there at Minnesota. And, I'm sure it wasn't easy for him to watch that Colorado game either. But heck, you know what, though? This is his biggest opportunity that he's going to see here, I think, this whole season is this coming Saturday. If they can come away looking good and getting a win there, I think a lot of this negativity totally shifts.
As Fangway here alludes to, we saw a Colorado team that set a school record for passing. So Shadur Sanders is playing his first game at the school, and he sets a 100-year record with 510 yards through the air. They had 3 100-yard receivers. That's never happened at the school.
I thought they had 4.
Did they have 4?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, yeah, the running back. Yes,
yeah.
3 receivers plus the running back. Exactly.
You forgot about the number 1 player from the state of Kansas coming out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he was impressive. And so Fangway's asking who Nebraska's breakout, game-changing kind of players should be. Well, you named 2 that should be those guys.
Yeah. I think this is a game where Gabe Urban could be a definite breakout guy, have a huge performance. And even, Anthony Grant, too, if he gets his chances. We talked about coming into that, though, about his fumble issues, and now it's going to be hard to see if they trust Grant to carry the ball. Ramir Johnson could be one of those guys. You saw him with a couple of electric plays, especially one in the return game there at Minnesota. Sleeper, incoming true freshman Malachi Coleman. You never know; he could do something electric. So there's a lot of guys there. Lloyd would be another kid, another freshman that would have a shot. Jaden Lloyd, who caught a pass last week. So there's quite a few guys that could really get a chance to shine.
All right, folks. Is there anything else that you wanted to hit on? I've pretty much exhausted everything when it comes to Colorado. I watched the game against TCU. They showed us what they have on defense, which is extremely exciting. The offensive coordinator is really good. He came in from Kent State. I noticed that on their first touchdown, they lined up their 2 best wide receivers, Travis Hunter and Horn, to the left, and they just ran slants, and they basically were just throwing picks.
Yeah.
And they just sealed it. They just threw up a wall, and then they leaked out the running back Edwards and just on a wheel route, and he was wide open.
Yep.
And then later in the game, they basically did the same thing, but the formation was a little different, just to throw off TCU, and they had trips this time, and all 3 of them. And again, they just built a wall, did the same thing.
It's a good
Yeah.
sign, it really is. When you got that kind of speed and talent out on the outside like that, it's kind of unique that you can do that kind of stuff. You can come up with all kinds of stuff that is so hard to defend.
And what I thought of Sanders was right out of the gate, a lot of swing passes, slip screens, just really easy kind of throws just
Yeah,
to get the ball
yeah,
out of his hand and get
absolutely.
it, yeah,
Get
keep
in
it
a rhythm.
moving,
Yep, yep.
get him in the rhythm and so forth. And then as the game progressed, once they got into the second half, he started throwing lasers
Oh,
downfield on the seams, back shoulders. He was really carving it up.
yeah. I mean, you can tell that he's a real seasoned guy that has played a lot of football, and his dad even talks about his demeanor and his approach to the game is very cerebral. Opposed to his brother that plays, defensive back. That he plays emotional. So it's kind of unique. And yeah, I mean, he commanded that offense so well. I agree with you. I mean, he just kind of started off, taking what the defense was giving him, and once TCU started trying to bring the pass rush, he just started carving them up. And he doesn't run; he only runs to escape the pass rush, and he's a pass first guy, but he is so athletic that he can run if he has to. And yeah, very dangerous quarterback, one of the better ones that you'll see out there.
All right, folks, please hit the like button. It helps considerably. It only takes you a split second to do it. So please hit the like button before you take off. And for any of you not subscribed here at the Voice of College Football, Nebraska, please do that. We got a Big 12 channel for you Colorado fans and other teams. We've launched a Big 12 channel here in the last few weeks. So the channel link is in the description section of this video and all the videos. And get on over to Husker Online. Check out Greg's work. Is there anything in particular there besides coaches' interviews, player interviews, and so forth?
Oh, just our regular reports right now. Yeah,
All right, everyone.
in the in-season crunch going now. We're trying to deal with our new media schedule. It's not favorable to us.
In what way?
Oh well, you have Monday. You had Coach Rule, and then Tuesday you had players. That used to always do this. Everybody would do it on the same day. So now we have to go down 2 mornings in a row, and then Wednesday is afternoon, like 3:30 type thing. And then Matt Rule again on Thursdays. So they've given us one extra day, basically. It must be by Coach Rule's design that he wants it that way. I'm not sure, but
Nebraska, Colorado. The Buffs are about a 4-point favorite, and Nebraska trying to avoid 0-2.
yeah.
And got hit with these two road challenges out of the gate. Matt Rule's first year, so that they will try to close out the fourth quarter this time around. All right, everyone. Appreciate you being here. Enjoy the game on Saturday. There's always a brighter day ahead. Always the sun comes up, and give Matt Rule some time. All right, Greg. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Enjoy the game.
I'll try to.